Hi, I'm Dr. Bertice Berry, and I want to tell you a story. I'm learning new things every day. Malcolm X once said, "You've been hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, run amok." Yes, he was talking about a liquor bottle and the government seal that's on it. But a lot of times we get hoodwinked into thinking one thing when it's really something else. When my kids were little, I used to try to keep them away from games of three card Monte by playing those games with them and showing them how they could be tricked. We would go out for dinner and we'd either tell stories or we'd play what we call cards. The server would give us a bunch of those little discs that were used for coasters, and we'd play cards with them. Now, I would always say, do you have any threes? No, I don't have any threes. And they'd say, do you have a six? And no, I don't have a six. And then it was my turn to say, give me your sixes. And they'd say, but you just said you didn't have any sixes. I'm like, no, I didn't. And give me your sixes. I know you have them. And then they say, well, that's what I said. Exactly. You have to pay attention. You have to remember what's in your hand. Fatima would always give whatever she had. And we were like, no. Well, I recently learned something that was really hoodwinked, led astray, bamboozled. I got a copy of the Records of the Slave Claims Commission, and it's the state of Delaware, and I was born and raised in Delaware. It's the Register of the Delaware Commissions, and it was General Order number 329. General Order number 329 allowed those states that did not leave the Union. Remember the North and the South, the Union and the Confederates, right? And so the Order number 329 was created for those states: Maryland, Delaware, Kentucky, Missouri, West Virginia, which came as a result of the western part of the state didn't want to leave the Union after of Virginia, and that's how West Virginia was formed. And then later on, Tennessee came back later on. So those states were, if you had people in those states who had enslaved people, you could send them to war for you, so that to assure that you would win, and you could get compensation for the said person. Huh? So, yeah, in order to claim of compensation for a slave enlisted in the United States colored troops, a slave owner had to furnish proof of enlistment of the slave, proof of ownership of the slave, proof of their own loyalty to the Union, and a deed of manumission freeing their slave. Now, they could get up to $300 per person, which is a good amount. So these states that did not leave the Union, they said, we're staying with the Union and we're keeping our enslaved people, were allowed to send those troops into war to fight the war, to keep them, the owners, in the positions that they were in, and they got paid for those people. What? Listen, folks, for the longest, we all keep thinking that there are sides of things, and sometimes, maybe, but at the bigger picture, there's somebody owning and controlling the means of production, and we're all down here fighting over the crumbs. They're in the cake factory laughing. We got to be a little bit more aware of what's really going on. And we've got to see that we're more connected than we think we are. General Order 329, though, took me for a loop. And I'm from Delaware. I love you. Take some time to learn the history of where you're from and where you live, and sit down and share it with those who don't know. I love you.